your recording because this is another one of those talks where I'm going to attempt to give you 54 years of experience in 20 minutes. And I'm going to turn off all your faces so I can see the screen. So if you have something to say, please just shout it out. Don't try to raise your hand because I won't see it. Okay, the topic is professional socialization. And it is a legal term from the California Code of Regulations 16, Section 1387 on supervised professional experience shall include socialization into the profession of psychology and shall be augmented by integrated modalities, including mentoring, didactic exposure, role modeling, enactment, observational, vicarious learning, and consultative guidance. Professional socialization is also a scientific term. There's a literature on it. Here's a good article by Shar and her colleagues on professional socialization, where they define it and write about it. The definition is that it's a nonlinear, continuous, interactive, transformative, personal, psychosocial, and self-reinforcing process that is formed through internalization of the specific culture of a professional community and can be affected by individual, organizational, and interactional factors. And I highlighted the word nonlinear there because we're going to talk about the fact that it's a nonlinear process. We're going to talk about that eventually. If we don't get to it today, another day. Also from the same article, Shar et al., 2019, professional socialization is a nonlinear, continuous, interactive, transformative, developmental, personal, psychosocial, and self-reinforcing process which is formed in newcomers through internalizing the specific culture of a professional community, including expectations, values, beliefs, customs, traditions, and unwritten rules. I've highlighted that because as we talk, we're going to run into some of the unwritten rules. It's good to talk about them because otherwise you won't know because they're not written. Of the profession, as well as understanding the hierarchy and power structure and the responsibilities. So I've also highlighted understanding the hierarchy and power structure because professions do have hierarchies and power structures, and it's something that needs to be acknowledged and accepted. So putting all that in my own words, professional socialization is a process through which a person comes to think like a member of the profession, conduct oneself like a member of the profession, and this includes external behaviors like learning to dress, talk, and act like a member of the profession. It's also an internal process by which a person comes to identify with other members of the profession and feel like part of a group. In talking about these issues, I'm going to try to be constructive in tone. I may wind up saying some blunt things about people without naming any names. I may wind up saying some blunt things about the organizations we work in, but I hope to maintain a constructive tone throughout that, as well as a sense of humility, because I've done some very unsocialized things myself. So as we get into some case examples, I don't want to create the impression that I think I'm above all this, because I'm not. And I see that it's a situation with colliding trajectories. It's a situation, professional socialization will lead to conflicts and power struggles, because at the same time, we're expecting a newcomer to understand and accept the hierarchy and the power structure. The newcomer is also developing their sense of professional independence, and it is a countercultural profession, in my opinion. There's a lot of factors that lead to these power struggles and conflicts. We provide trauma-informed care, which means that a lot of our clients are victims of abuse or have been mistreated So there's a tendency to see in clients that other people have messed them up. Maybe parents have messed them up. Authority figures have messed them up. So within that context, where we look at the failings of authority figures, we're asking a newcomer to understand and accept hierarchy and the power structure. Also, our work is done in private, in isolation, with a high degree of responsibility. So within that, you have people working in private with a high degree of responsibility, and then you have a supervisor who's looking at what they did. And rather than the supervisor being there with them to guide them along, they're working kind of on their own. They can feel that they've been thrown to the wolves, where they're out working, and then they have a supervisor critiquing what they've done. Also, the newcomers are in the process of becoming teachers, supervisors. Some will become supervisors, maybe not all, and diagnosticians. So there's an assumption on the part of the student to think part of their role as they're becoming a diagnostician is to diagnose their supervisor, or teach their supervisor, or supervise their supervisor. As they're on this trajectory of becoming things themselves, there's this tendency to lose sight of the power structure and take on these roles in relation to the supervisor. So we're talking about conflict in the workplace as an inevitable part of professional socialization. So let me ask the group, in the interest of getting you engaged, what are appropriate approaches to conflict in the workplace? Let's say it's inevitable. There's going to be conflict in the workplace. And what are appropriate approaches to it? And I'm going to pause so that somebody can answer the question.
Jules?
I have one. If it's in discussion forum, to say, with all due respect, may I ask a question or share my perspective?
Okay, good. Anybody else?
I like the idea of coming from a place of, I do not know this for a fact. I am inquiring and I may be confused. I don't want to assume badness in the other person. I want to allow greatly for the fact that I may be completely wrong.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
Humility. I'd say approach it with humility. I don't know what I don't know. That would be my disposition.
Okay, very good. Anybody else?
Also, like in our previous discussion, maybe be aware of the countertransference in your own parts to ensure that you are coming from your adult and mature professional stance.
Okay, very good. Anybody else?
Curiosity.
Reach out.
Approach it with curiosity instead of having all the answers. Approach it like a question.
I like it.
Very good. These are good ideas. Anybody else?
I would say genuineness. Sorry, John. I have a good experience I can share, but this would need to be off recording. So remind me if you're interested.
Good.
Thank you. So these were all good ideas. I just jotted down some of my own ideas. Compromise, use your words. If you work in situations with severely mentally ill people, sometimes you'll see them walk around very angry, and you may see a caseworker say, "Use your words, Henry, use your words." And the person's walking around all furious with fists clenched and jaws clenched. And a caseworker is saying, "Use your words, use your words." So yes, and we're talking about conflict between supervisees and supervisors in particular, since we're talking about professional socialization and supervision. Healthy triangulation involves using the chain of command. Before you go over somebody's head, you address it to them. Forgiveness, how about forgiveness? It's a good solution to find somewhere else to work if you don't like it there. Meanwhile, if you're going to work there, accept the hierarchy. So these are some of my own thoughts on how to deal with conflict in the workplace. What are some inappropriate approaches to conflict in the workplace?
Personal attacks, name calling, that kind of stuff.
Good. Anybody else? Nobody else. Okay. Some of my own thoughts, regressive behaviors like yelling, name calling would fit in here, leaving the room, unhealthy triangulations, forming triangles. It's a principle of triangular behavior that a dyad, by which I mean two people, a dyad in trouble forms a triangle. They triangulate on a third person. So you have gossip, you have breaking the chain of command, going over your supervisor's head to go to your supervisor's supervisor and leaving the supervisor out of the loop. Unhealthy solutions include rejecting the hierarchy. You know, the hierarchy has nothing to teach me, has nothing to tell me. I'm my own boss. Going into a passive aggressive meltdown, such as not doing the work that's expected of you, and a general quality of unforgiveness. So these are just some of my own thoughts about unhealthy reactions to conflict in the workplace. Let's get back to Shar's article. Professional socialization is nonlinear, by which I mean it's not smooth but lumpy gravy. This is my, Shar didn't say smooth gravy or lumpy gravy. I'm the one who adds this phrase. It's you keep running into lumps. That's what we mean by it's nonlinear. It's not a smooth process. You keep running into, and this is not from Shar, this is my contribution. You have milestones, epiphanies, and crises. In the first section of this talk, we covered milestones and epiphanies. Let's see how far we can get into crises, and then we'll stop for today. Crises include the suicide of a client, or an act of violence committed by a client, rejection by a client. The client says, well, you're just not good enough. I'm not going to talk to you. This can be a crisis for a therapist. Also, successful termination with a client can be a crisis where the client says, okay, I'm all better now. I don't need you anymore. And as the weeks go by, you're like, well, I really miss that client. I enjoyed working with that client, and I miss that they're not that I'm not involved with them anymore. Getting fired can be a crisis, or if you're an independent practice, losing referral sources can be a crisis, where referral sources come to the conclusion you're just not good enough and they're going to find somebody else. Surviving a board complaint can be a crisis. Failures, humiliations, embarrassments, living with mistakes. I have a client currently who used to be a mental health worker until she had a brain injury in a car accident, and now she's disabled, unable to continue in her profession. And she was talking about what it was like to be a mental health professional, and it fit right in with my talk, so I thought I'd quote her here. She said, you have to be so perfect to be a healthcare professional. And she was saying you have to be so polite and you have to express yourself so well, and you can't let your personal baggage get involved. And I said, well, you do have to live with your mistakes. I don't know about being perfect. I don't think any of us are perfect, but you do have to live with your embarrassments and mistakes. More crises. Crises can take the form of encounters with other professions. There's a lot of professions who are bigger than we are and have their own hierarchies, calling pecking orders if you want to. And some of these professions don't respect psychotherapists very much. So, for example, the medical profession. And I worked under the supervision of medical professionals for years, and they don't always respect what we do. My first job was to accept a commission in the Navy. so I know what military people think of what we do. One of my later jobs was working for a Fortune 500 corporation that is run by engineers. So I worked for engineers and grew familiar with what they think of the whole mental health field. It doesn't fit the engineering model at all, and they feel very superior as a rule. I've worked in corrections, so law enforcement people, corrections people, what do they think of mental health people? You don't always find a lot of respect. You may encounter the legal profession. You may be called to testify as an expert witness, or you may be sued for malpractice. And these are all episodes of professional socialization. And how hard is it to find a malpractice lawyer? Not very hard to find a malpractice lawyer.
Yeah.
They're looking for you. They're looking for clients. You don't have to look for them. They're looking for you. This slide, by the way, was intended to be funny, but you don't. Thank you. That's a kind laugh.
That made it funny.
So the point, how does this slide fit into professional socialization? Well, as you encounter these other professions and they have their definition for you, they have a box they want to put you in, a pigeonhole, which is true of all these professions that I've listed here. They have their own idea of who you are. And as you go through these processes of interacting with them, you get more and more clarity about what your profession is, who we are, what we do, what we have to offer, whether these other professions agree with it or not. And that may complete the crises. Yeah, that's okay. That was the last slide on crises. So why don't we pause for questions? How do we stop the share? Let me see if I know how to do that. I don't know that I know how to stop share.
I know how.
You want to bring our faces back? Let's pause for questions. Thank you. Good. Okay. Any questions, comments? Because I think that's enough for one day.